Namaste and welcome to another edition of Live, Love, Engage. I am delighted to be with you again today and to have a fabulous woman on the show who has a different approach to sales, unique perspective on how to approach sales, shall we say. And I first off want to welcome Deb Brown Maher to Live, Love, Engage.
Thank you so much, Gloria. It's great to be here.
Well, it is excellent to have you here. And for those of you who are not able to watch on YouTube, those of you who are seeing have a clue already what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to explain for those of you who are listening who Deb Brown Maher is. She is a sales coach, an author, and a speaker who helps business owners and solo entrepreneurs change the way they sell from convincing a prospect to buy to being of service. And she is really passionate about helping people sell from a position of integrity. And she shares her methods in her book and video training course, which is called Sell Like Jesus: 7 Characteristics of Christ for Ethical Sales. And when I first met you and I saw that was the book you had written, I was like, okay, I'm intrigued right away. I definitely want to talk to this woman and find out more about that. But before we get to that, I want to just have you share with our listeners and our viewers a little bit about your journey and how you came to become a sales coach.
Yes, so I got a degree in Latin American Studies, an undergrad degree, which although I spoke Spanish and thought I was going to work at the UN, I found out that you needed 3 languages minimum, not just 2. And I really didn't want to teach in the public school systems. So what the heck was I going to do for a living? I ended up for about 3 years in a teaching role with underprivileged youth, where I taught them basic job skills. And then I ended up running the customer service department for Nutrisystem weight loss centers.
Oh, wow.
And learned quite a bit about dealing with the public and customer service in general. But it wasn't where I wanted to stay. So one of the owners of the company was for me and said, Deb, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, well, I'd really like to be in training. And he said, well, in order to train here, you really need to work the jobs. And one of them was sales. So that was my first experience. And Gloria, I have to be honest and say it was one of the hardest things, one of the most uncomfortable things that I ever had to do. Now, as a kid, I had sold pot holders that I made. I sold newspapers. I sold Girl Scout cookies. And I had no problem with that.
Right.
But now I was in a role where I was expected to use a script that was using high pressure tactics, which felt icky, manipulative, insulting, honestly. And I just couldn't do it. So I did it as long as I needed to get the experience to go into the training department, right? And I got a good foundation for teaching and training in that role. But once I left there, my husband got a job in another city, so we moved. What was I going to do? Well, I ended up in another sales role, this time selling computers and medical practice management software of all.
Oh my, wow.
Yeah, so that was the time when I started studying, taking courses, and learning from other people about how to sell in a way that didn't use high pressure. And that was the beginning of my journey to which ultimately culminated in writing the book, Sell Like Jesus.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. Because I similar situation in a way, because I did as a kid, I think I did have like a lemonade stand or something, when I was really, really little. And then I did sell Girl Scout cookies, and I sold shampoo door to door in high school to raise money for a band trip. Now that was like, I think that was the one that kind of did it for me, where I was like, I don't want to be in sales, and I was like, I do not want to do this, until I realized when I started my own company that, oh, that means you have to sell to people. Oops.
Right. Right. And actually, you're the target audience that I wrote for. Small business owners who have to sell but hate to sell because of the negative stigma.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we all know that the stereotype of the car salesman and all of that, which has really helped. Not to mention other folks out there, even television sales and things. It really has gotten to be a bad way about it. So let's dive into the book a little bit and share with me a little bit of what are some of the characteristics that that makes Jesus, I guess, a good salesperson, or a model for us to emulate.
I would say, in general, Jesus was all about building relationships and restoring us to relationship with God the Father. So sales is really at its core relationship building when it's done from the perspective of being of service. If I am in selfish mode and I'm just trying to meet my numbers, get paid, make a buck, and I really don't care about you as the buyer, then that selfish way is going to come across to the buyer. If instead I put the buyer first and I try to understand them, their needs, their expectations, their wants, their hopes, their dreams, depending on what it is that you're selling, right? Understand them. What happens is, in that process of asking questions to understand them, we're building a relationship. They hear through my questions that I care, that I'm listening, that they matter. And in that dialogue, we can figure out whether I have the right solution for them or not. And if I don't, we still have a good connection, which means if things change in the future, they'll feel comfortable coming back to me. Or they might know somebody that I could help and they'll refer me. So I think a lot of salespeople fall into the trap of short-term thinking instead of long-term. Relationships are a long-term deal when they're done right. And so if you're thinking long-term, if you make the sale, that's great, but it isn't the only objective for connecting. That changes how the other person perceives you.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give us an example maybe of a couple of questions that someone should ask a prospect, in that developing that conversation and developing that relationship?
Sure. So first off, when someone says, because it's my world, I'll just use coaching. So when someone says, Deb, I want to talk to you about sales coaching. Traditional sales would say, oh, that's great. I do this and I do that and I do the other, and I've got this, that, and the other. And I've lost them because it's all about me. So instead, from the get-go, thank you for asking. What is it that prompted you to ask about sales coaching at this particular time? So right there, I'm asking an open-ended question to start to hear their story. And whatever they respond, I'm going to listen for the key words, the key elements of what they're saying. And I'm going to ask another question based on those words.
Mm.
And that will take us deeper into their story, their concerns, what they're looking for, the challenges they've had fulfilling this need. And that process of putting them first, caring more about them and hearing from them than telling all about my stuff,
Right.
that builds trust. And
Yeah.
it takes us where we want to go quickly, efficiently, effectively, and respectfully.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. Um, when you've got clients that are coming to you for help in this area, what is there like a common concern that they have that they're really like, I really need help. Can you help me with XYZ? What is that?
So there's one common problem that I hear a lot, and there's one common skill deficiency that I see, but most people are totally unaware of.
Mm.
So we'll start with the question that often brings people for coaching and sales. How do I get people to stop asking for a discount?
Mm.
I've
Mm.
already priced my products fairly. I get so mad. I can't lower my price any more than I already have.
Mm.
So it's that constant pressure to give a deal,
Mm.
because the world has taught us, if you don't ask, you don't get.
That's true.
Everybody's always discounting, so there must be a discount, right?
Mhm.
So that's the problem that brings a lot of people to my door.
Mm.
The skill set that is missing pretty much, I would say 80% of the time,
Mhm.
is having a structured approach to selling.
Mm.
People sell by the seat of their pants, and they're not methodical. Therefore, they're missing key opportunities, and they're making mistakes they don't have to make.
Mm.
So that structured approach is something that most people don't realize is missing until we talk a little while.
Mm. Now, is that when you say structured, is that like having perhaps like a maybe not necessarily a script, but sort of an outline of like what questions to ask, and then maybe even especially for like solopreneurs, um, different options of products that they can offer to someone they're talking to?
Yes, so there are some key steps to the sales process, which include when you're engaged with someone, okay, because we've got front end and back end. When
Right.
you're engaging with someone, you want to always set expectations,
Mm.
then dialogue about the problem first, exploring the problem that they have and the pain it's causing them,
Mhm.
the budget that they have to take care of that problem, and their decision-making process, how they're going to make the decision to move forward to take care of the problem.
Mm.
And then there's a presentation and a delivery.
Mm.
So at the front end, you have preparation. In the preparation, you want to learn anything you can about the person or their company ahead of time. And the internet makes that very possible to do these days.
Right.
Even just understanding their industry and the
Mm.
kinds of challenges the industry has is helpful. Also, as you do your research, listing out some potential questions to ask
Mm.
based on what you're learning, and on trying to uncover potential areas that they may have a challenge that you would be able to fulfill.
Mm.
On the back end, if they don't buy immediately, then you've got the follow-up process.
Mhm.
And Gloria, can I tell you, most salespeople don't follow up at all because they don't want to be a bother, or they only follow up once. And the statistics say it takes 5 to 7 follow-ups before someone buys.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So how much business is being left on the table?
Yeah. Yes. I've heard this expression a lot over the years of being in business, but if you haven't heard it before, take note of it now. The fortune is in the follow-up. That's where it is. You have to stay in contact with people. I stayed in contact with someone who I had talked to about a VIP day. And it was a whole nother year before she came back to me and said, you know what, now I'm ready. I wasn't ready then, but now I am. But if I hadn't stayed in contact with her through emails and, then she probably would have forgotten all about me and she would have found somebody else.
Exactly. Yes. And so I talk about that structure for the sales process.
Mhm.
There's also a whole follow-up process that you can put into place. And there are different ways, but they start with, and here's where we can take the pressure off. Okay.
Okay.
Everybody feels like I'm being a bother. I don't want to annoy. I don't want to follow up too soon. I don't want to be too late. And therefore nothing gets done.
Right.
So analysis paralysis. So
Yes.
here's the simple way to solve that. Ask the prospect, when would you like me to follow up with you? And don't leave it just there. Get them to be specific.
Mm.
Oh, follow up with me in a couple of weeks. So get the calendar out. So a couple of weeks, that would put us to this week. Do you think that would be, oh no, do it the next week. Okay, which day is better? And what time is best? And would you want me to call or email? Now, when I do that follow-up, what should I be asking you?
Mm.
And I get them to write my follow-up script. Right? So now I'm not bothering them. I'm doing exactly what they asked me to do. I'm asking them exactly what they want me to talk about. And there's no pressure. I'm fulfilling the expectation. And oh, by the way, when I do what I said I would do, when I said I would do it, just the very act of doing the follow-up, I've built trust.
Right.
Because I've shown integrity. I'm a person of my word. I do what I say, right? So all of that goodness comes out of being methodical about how you conduct the follow-up.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's so important to have systems in place for sure, because I have definitely learned that lesson the hard way. And I think one of the other things that people, or well, certainly a mistake that I made early on, and you probably have dealt with this as well, is oftentimes, especially other coaches, they conduct like discovery calls with clients,
Yeah.
and then they wind up giving them all of the information about how to solve their problem, and then they wonder why they're not getting hired to do the job.
You need to talk about the what, not the how.
Yeah.
The what is that discovery conversation. The how they have to pay for.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That was a lesson, good lesson I had to learn. And it seems so simple now, but I think the problem, a lot of um, business owners, especially really heart-centered business owners, we come from a place of service. We want to be able to help and we want to solve their problem. And then we kind of forget that, oh yeah, that was kind of the point.
You make a really good point. And a lot of coaches are mercy hearted. And we just want to help people.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, if we get paid, it's like, I get paid to do what I love to do. Huh. And that can easily bankrupt you. So there has to be a balance. And it's really helpful to have some guidelines for yourself
Mm,
of just what you will share at no cost
mm.
and what people only get when they have a contract with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. And that's where that preparation comes from. Just to spend some time really thinking about that and really having a plan in place so that, yeah, so that way you can be of service to someone in the moment if they need it, but then you can still be of service to yourself.
Exactly. Yes. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, yeah,
Yeah,
we won't be able to be there for anybody else.
absolutely. Yeah.
And you alluded to it, but I'll put an exclamation mark on it. We can break our own rules, but
Mm,
we need to do it consciously.
mm.
And I'll give an example.
Yeah.
I had someone referred to me, and in a desperate situation, unemployed, bankrupt, right?
Mm,
And I made a choice to coach this person at no charge.
mm.
And during the third meeting, they said to me, I have to find a way to pay you. I can manage $100. How do I get that to you?
Mm.
And I gracefully accepted the payment,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there
Yeah.
are exceptions, but we need to make them consciously, not because of some kind of weakness that we don't want to stand our ground to ask for money.
Mhm.
That can be an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know why it's important to have accepted that money, but can you maybe explain a little bit more detail why you did decide to say, yes, okay, I will accept that payment from that person?
Because it was offered freely. And if I had declined it, it would have been an insult.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, exactly. Yeah, I make that point in my book, so I just wanted
Okay.
to see if like-minded. We're on the same
Yes.
track. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also a, what's the term? To feel like this person was pulling their own weight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're empowering them, really, I think. Yeah, to be able to you're helping them feel that they can now stand on their own 2 feet and be able to contribute to.
Yes. So stand on their own 2 feet, and also for them to honor me
Yeah,
with women. So
right.
all of those things were all wrapped together.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so important. What is what do you think if you could do anything, I would say, to be able to make make the sales process even better than you have right now, what would you do?
Hmm. Let's see. Wow, I could go a bunch of different directions there, because I'm thinking on the basic level, I would make sure to use the structure as is every time, because
Mm,
the tendency is to get familiar and to skip or to read into a situation or a relationship and get lazy, get lax.
mm,
And I know for certain that when I follow the structure, I get the best possible result.
mm,
When I skip parts of the structure, I sometimes get a good result, but not 100% of the time.
mm,
And when I teach something, I teach it because it works 100% of the time. Now, that doesn't mean you make every sale 100% of the time.
right.
It means that you preserve the relationship. You get the information that you need. You give the information that they need. So all the components work when you use the structure. And human nature is to abort the structure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. I want to change gears just a little bit and just talk about a little bit about your personal interests, because again, for those of you who are listening, you're going to have to go to YouTube and check out the replay of this. That's what I'm going to say, because behind Deb in her office, she has the most beautiful artwork, especially a lovely painting of hearts of different colors. And I understand that this is your artwork. So what has this always been a passion of yours or something you developed late? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Actually, from the time I was 4 years old, I was drawing rainbows. As soon as I got my first set of crayons, I learned the rainbow, how to do it in order, and I drew rainbows because I've always loved color. God wired me with a love of color. When I think about color, I salivate. I know that sounds really weird, but it just touches my heartstrings. And so as a child, because I was one of those kids that needed things to do because I was kind of, all over the place. My parents gave me art lessons from the time I was 6.
Wow, how lovely.
I went to this lovely home, Mrs. Schaefer's attic. So she had her attic decked out with all sorts of cans and bottles and clay jars and magazines and old cards, things that people could practice drawing, right? And I started out at 6 for an hour every Saturday. By the time I was 9 or 10, I was going for 3 hours every Saturday.
Wow.
And I went for lessons for 8 or 10 years. So I learned all of the basics of composition, color, shading, perspective with Mrs. Schaefer. And then again, in the year 2000, my husband gifted me for Christmas art lessons at the Harrisburg Art Association. I live near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I took lessons as an adult for 10 years. Now, my original love is watercolor, but photorealistic watercolor. But it was 2009, I realized that 2 of my loves, so I'm a Christ follower, I am passionate about the Lord and my faith, I love worship. I realized my artistic talent and my love of worship could blend together. So I now paint using acrylics during worship at church.
Oh, wow.
So I start with a blank canvas and I seek the Holy Spirit to see what he wants to be made manifest in that particular meeting. And then it's almost the best way I can describe it is it's paint by numbers by Holy Spirit, because he'll say, start with purple. Okay. Use this brush, start in the upper left. And as I go, the image evolves and it comes forth. So it's very much a discovery process for me as well as the audience. I think maybe 6 times in the last 11 years, I've had some idea what I was painting before I started, but usually it's a blank canvas and I'm in prayer and what comes is what I paint.
Oh, how wonderful that is. Oh, what a blessing to be able to do something like that and to be able to, I think sometimes these things are like gifts from God. And so it's another way for you to kind of give back and to share it with others. I love that.
Yes. And I was so thrilled just recently. I painted a picture of a cross, but it was superimposed over gates, and it references the scripture, and the gates of hell will not prevail against the church.
Mm.
And I was so excited that one of the people that showed interest in it was recently widowed.
Oh.
And I was able to say to her, you just ask the Lord what you think you should pay me, and I'll accept whatever it is.
Mm.
And so the painting went home with her last Sunday, and it just thrilled me to be able to bless her and just minister to her through that painting.
That's lovely. I was going to ask you before, like, what is the favorite thing you enjoy about coaching? And I guess I still will, but I wonder is, 'cause these are two radically different disciplines that you're doing. Do you prefer one over the other, or is it's just that it fills different parts of your soul, kind of helps?
That's a great question. The same skill that enables me to be good at coaching also enables me to do the painting as I do it, because I'm able to process information real time. And so this ties in with my deep love, and that is to see people healed. And when someone is struggling, challenged, having problems with sales, it's affecting their business. It's affecting their livelihood. It's affecting their life. And so if I can help them discover what's the real problem, then equip them to overcome that, oh my word, there's nothing that thrills me more. And then to see someone get past those obstacles so they can be successful. Because Gloria, I know you've seen this too. People usually have what they need already.
Yes.
There's something blocking their ability to put
Right.
into action. So if you can deal with that root cause, then they're free to use what they know, to learn more, to step out, to be bold, take the risks that they were afraid to do before, and get the results that were there all along, but they were covered up and piled on. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Ah, awesome. I've been enjoying this conversation so much, and I don't want it to end quite yet because I want to ask you, is there anything I should have asked you about sales or even art for that matter, or God or anything, but I didn't? Anything else you'd like to share?
So it's always a challenge to me to convey the shift of perspective that is possible for all of us. Whenever I run into someone who is living the life of a victim, sometimes life circumstances, let's just face it, you are a victim of circumstances.
Right.
And yet there's still a choice in how you want to respond. I wish I could quickly help people see that they have the power to make a different choice, that victimhood is not assigned for life. You can change it like that by shifting your perspective. And I've done it. I've had to do it. Personally, I went through the tragedy of losing a husband. We were together 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And we have no children. So it was him and me. He was my family.
Yeah.
So that devastating loss, I was a victim, right?
Yeah.
But every day I chose to fight to get back to center. I knew I was out of sorts. I knew I had to go through that grieving process. I hated it, but I was ineffective to change it. I had to walk it out.
Mm-hmm.
But every day I made a choice to live. I made a choice to give. I made a choice to do something positive towards the future that I didn't know what it held yet. So I don't say it lightly. I know the challenge. I know how difficult it is. And it can be done.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing because when you are in the throes of it, sometimes it seems like, am I ever going to feel better? It's
Right.
like, and then all of a sudden one day you realize that I
Oh,
do feel better. Holy smokes. Wow.
you shifted.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, I am sorry for your loss and glad that you did come out the other side and are shining brightly in the world and shining colorfully in the world too.
Thank you. And I will mention that's why the two last names. So I was Deb Brown forever and had to keep that, and married Charles Maher. So
well, very nice. It's nice that you have honored him and continue to honor him by keeping his name. So that's awesome. Um, I guess the last thing I want to check in with you is if someone is listening to you and says, "Oh, I really need your help with sales." How do I get a hold of Deb? Where's the best place for people to reach out to you?
yeah, the easiest thing to do is go to my website, which is debbrownSales.com. And there are all sorts of resources there. There's a link to get on my email list. There's a link to sign up for a phone call or a Zoom meeting just to talk. So I love having conversations like this one. This has been great. And I invite people to connect.
Awesome. Well, I will be sure and have that in the show notes for anyone listening who doesn't have a pen handy. So not to worry, you'll be able to do that. So thank you so much. This was a really lovely conversation. I'm so glad we had a chance to chat, and I wish you continued success and in helping people with, having a more sales conversations that are coming from integrity and not the hard pressure type of conversations that don't do anybody any good. Either one. So continue your good work and good luck with the book, and hope you're doing well. And well, how can people, if people want to get your book, is that available like on Amazon or something?
Also through my website or through Amazon. It's available Kindle and paperback on Amazon. And if people want an author signed book, you can get it through the website.
All right. Very good. Okay. There you go. Well, thank you again for being here, and I really appreciate it. And for all those of you out there listening and watching on YouTube, I appreciate all of you as well, and continue to help you. If you have any comments or considerations, definitely let us know. In fact, if you ever want to have a chat with me, you can always go to engagewithgloria.com and set up a time, and I'd love to have a chat with you. And make sure that you're subscribed and tell your friends about the show. It'll be lovely as well. So until next time, as always, I encourage you to go out today and every day and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.